but
Good
also
God.
just the
That's a
total
lot then.
impact on the economy. People get bad ideas about recessions and all sorts of stuff. They just stop doing things. There's just fear in the market. So people are just like, hey, maybe we shouldn't hire those new people. Maybe we shouldn't buy that new machine. Maybe we shouldn't move to the bigger plant. Maybe we
Yeah.
shouldn't expand our operations. Maybe
Yeah.
we shouldn't open up that new business. So listen, there,
Thank
just
you.
me and you today. So we got to tackle issues here. We can't just be blabbing on about, what we had for breakfast and all that kind of stuff. This is
Okay.
a serious real estate show. We got serious topics to tackle. We got tariffs. We
Tariffs.
got impending renewal crises.
Okay. Crises, plural,
Crises. Yep.
multiple. Okay.
Multiple. Yep.
Okay.
We've got all sorts of rules and regulations. We got social unrest, Daryl. The
Social
people
unrest
the
in
people
Canada.
are just not happy with they don't want anything to change, but they sure ain't happy with the way things are.
I don't think that they don't want things to change. You
Well, they
think
don't want things to change too much. They just
not
want
too
things to
much?
not be the way that they are. But that's probably one of the issues in the first place. We
Okay.
got a lot of political strife.
Okay.
People are just up in the air right now with who they're voting for and you, how
Is
dare
this
you?
true?
There's a lot of stuff. You know what me and you
Is
get a
that
lot?
factual?
Yeah, absolutely. Me and you get a lot of like people call us liberals all the time.
I
It's
think
it's
they're
like
talking to
first
you for the most part,
okay,
just so you
whatever. I
know.
don't care who they're talking to, but just calling somebody a liberal right now, it's like, guys,
Yee.
the majority of the population voted for a voting population voted for the liberals two terms.
They
Okay?
did?
Yeah. They had, I
This
think
is
had,
if
they had
you
a majority
buy.
government and then they got a minority government. But you're
I, f-
talking about like the vast majority of people.
I feel like you have to buy into the theory that the voting is actually real and tabulated and
No,
that
that's conspiracy talk right there. There's no way that the Canadian voting system is compromised.
just just everywhere else on earth, not here.
I would say that there's probably lots of things that happen in the U.S. It's a little bit of a different system,
Hmm.
but no,
You
you
know,
guys can call me naive or whatever I want. There's never been any evidence to suggest that the Canadian electoral system has been compromised.
well, who do you know that voted for Trudeau or the
Most
Liberals?
of the people. But now the thing is,
Most of the
people
people?
don't.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, percentage wise, most of
Yeah.
the people in your circle did. Okay, but everyone's going like,
Hmm.
"Oh, you're a liberal," and I can honestly say right now who I'm going to vote for in the next election. It doesn't matter if they got Mark Carney or if they got Arnold Schwarzenegger or if they got Wayne Gretzky leading the pack of the liberals. I ain't voting for the liberals.
You're
you
not
know,
voting for the Liberals.
there's just not a chance. It's just there's too many things going on there, and my most of my viewpoints align with conservatives. The issue is right now is people. There used to be what a conservative was and what a liberal was. There
This is
used to
the
be this
problem.
defined. This is why you're a liberal and this is why you're a conservative. Now there's just so many overlapping topics that the conservatives picked up a few things from the liberals and vice versa, right?
Hmm.
And so a lot of the issues that we've got right now are caused by extreme left wing, policies, whether it be the, um, boys are boys, girls are girls, or everybody deserves the right to live free, and everyone should have money thrown at them, and all the different things that we've been getting ourselves into over the last decade. I don't want to say too much here. I don't want to offend anybody, but bottom line is there's a lot of things that the liberals have been doing, trying to keep the planet safe and all that kind of stuff that's caused a lot of these issues, and that the conservatives are pretty hard nosed on, and I think that that is definitely the direction that we're going in, which makes sense, and I don't see how anybody can possibly agree that the liberals are going to win again. And now they're getting some points back with Carney.
Apparently.
they're getting some, the polls are starting to come up, so it's like a hot topic. And then you get all these people who support, you see things on Facebook, people who support liberals, and they start going on and on and on about Poilievre and why won't he take the security clearance? Daryl, why won't he do the security clearance, Daryl? What has he got to hide?
Listen, TK, I think we have such a big problem here internally, and it's like you're saying, liberal isn't liberal and conservative isn't conservative. Listen, if Pierre Poilievre was a liberal, would you vote liberal?
No.
What?
What should the people do?
What?
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'm double subscribed. Do it yourself. Didn't get to fix the show, though. Didn't get to fix the show.
What? If Pierre Poilievre was the leader of the Liberal Party, you would not vote for him?
I'm saying no.
What the fuck? Isn't it the guy? Isn't it the guy and his policies?
No,
who cares,
it's
liberal or this
no,
is the
but
problem, TK. This
that's
is mental.
That's the issue, though. It's you just had a track record. You just had 8 years of absolute insanity and all those policies. How could we believe a new guy saying, "Well, now that I'm the leader of the Liberal Party, we're going to change everything"? Because I don't really believe that the prime minister even has the power to do all the things that he wants to do. There's too many people in the way making other decisions and guiding him and influencing him for anything that he really wants to do to actually pull weight.
But it's not the party. It's the guy who's making the decisions for the party, no?
There's a lot of consultants and there's a lot of processes to go through in order to be able to make those decisions, Daryl. It's not like Poilievre just goes in there and says, "All right, liberals, here we go."
Here we go.
He pulls off his mask.
I'm the leader.
It's me, Pierre Poilievre. Now we're gonna do things my way. No.
Well,
They have all sorts of already indoctrinated bills and laws that they have to adhere to and plans, and they've got to tickle this part of the country in order to be able to get that part of the country to laugh, and so everything is always about juggling a system that's been created. I mean, we've got a broken system at the end of the day. So I don't even believe Poilievre, as far as the Conservatives go, is going to be able to make any change to what the real issues are, which would be housing, which would be inflation, which would be jobs and employment, and of course now the new situation that we got with south of the border. I don't think he's going to make any changes. We've got systematic issues. So it's like we're only voting for him because, like Bucka beer or legalizing weed or anything else like that, there's a few little things that are good catchphrases that, makes you go, "Oh yeah, that sounds really good." And that those things will get passed through, which again, without offending anybody, there's a lot of hard-nosed conservative policies that I'm in favor of that will be reinforced once conservatives take back over. And then those other issues that are probably more, widely sought after will remain unresolved. It's just the way it goes. There's just not enough time in one party's term in order to be able to reverse everything. We have major issues here. Daryl, you shared with me like an amazing article here out of the Owen Sound whatchamacallit newspaper.
Yeah, Current.
We, the Canadian Real Estate Show,
That's
and
right.
the viewers who are so loyal every single week listening and watching our show have stopped BG Wealth from stealing any more money from anybody else. And this week, the Securities Commission? The Securities Authorities put a stop to him offering any more securities for sale, taking any more investors' money. And it was all because of the Canadian Real Estate Show. And we're doing good out there, Daryl. Who says that this show doesn't do any good or doesn't make a difference?
That's right.
We
are
proof.
making a difference. That's right.
Thanks, guys.
We got that culprit,
Craig.
red-handed.
Gotcha.
We got you, buddy. Who's next, TK?
Guys, who else should we tackle as a team out there right now taking people's money? Let us know. Send us a message or drop a comment in the comment section.
Yeah. And to everybody that was helpful and reached out and is in the process of doing stuff, we salute you. It seems like we're in for a fight, right? Like tariffs are coming, right?
The U.S.
With the U.S., right?
Yeah.
So tariffs are here, aluminum, steel, 25% tariffs. And I don't know about you, TK.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think did we? I don't think we talked about this at all yesterday at breakfast, but every conversation I've had, except for with you at breakfast yesterday, and maybe we did talk about this, is
We had a lot of
about
stuff to talk
what
about.
the fuck tariffs are going to do to the real estate market, right? What are they going to do? And how long are they going to last? And what's the repercussions going to be from this big bad fight that we're like charging into, it seems. I mean, all these people you're talking about, I think are canvassing on we're going to fight back, right? We're not going to appease them. Poilievre is not. Well, Poilievre was, I guess, originally planning to appease him, and then of late, I think he's tariffing back like dollar for dollar, just like everybody else. But this is major, major,
Well, he
major,
doesn't have a
major.
leg to stand on right now, so it doesn't matter. He can say whatever he wants. He's got to win the election first. But the tariffs right now, so today's talk, so today is, we're recording on Wednesday, February 12th. Just so you guys know, we got to talk like
We're
this
out
now.
to
But
lunch, yeah.
by the time we get out, by the time it comes on Sundays, we don't know what could happen. So now they're talking about the automotive tariffs. And you've got basically all the automotive companies in the States basically saying if he does this, which he's talking 50 or even 100% tariffs on automotive parts. So they're basically saying, hey, if he decides to do that and we've got tariffs on auto parts, it's just like shut down central.
Well, hold
And it's
on,
like,
forget that. The aluminum and the steel is like in now, isn't it?
yeah,
Like
that's
he
already done.
signed that one,
That
right?
one's in. Yeah.
But that's pretty major. I don't think people really understand
Yeah, it
how
was
much.
$20 billion a year cross border, like from Canada to the States.
But Canada's like a major player in the whole aluminum game, and
Hmm.
the States gets the majority of their aluminum from us, and we
Yeah.
ship like basically all of ours to them.
Yeah.
Like that alone should send some kind of ripple throughout things, right?
Well,
And
it
should
makes things more expensive immediately for American home builders. That's for sure.
that's the
Alberta's
problem,
affected
right?
big time. Ontario, you got places like Windsor, Cambridge, obviously Hamilton, Steeltown, those type of places. Those are the places that would be impacted locally, right? If they have to cut jobs. So if American builders, whoever's buying steel and aluminum, if they decide that they aren't going to be able to purchase as much from the Canadian suppliers, which is the whole point of the tariffs to bring it back to American soil, then that would mean that those towns where those jobs exist would be affected pretty immediately.
Pretty immediately.
Yeah.
So I don't know what immediately looks like. In my head, they don't just stop buying stuff. Well, I guess some people
Well, look,
I
they
don't
have to. I mean, it's right away. I mean, the guy who's
how
maybe just about to get hired, he's doing his like onboarding, his training to give him his safety hat. He's like, oh man, I'm gonna be making big bucks over here. And then they're just like, you know what, Jim? We were gonna hire
we're
you,
gonna talk
but
to you.
you know what? It looks like we're gonna be having to be cutting back soon. So maybe right now, while we can
What?
still lay you off without any repercussions, you're just gonna have to go back home. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry you had to pay for those boots and the hard hat there, bye. But once things turn around, we'll give you a call. Okay,
Yeah. You're on the list.
have a great day.
You're at the top of the list.
Yeah, so that type of stuff I think would be pretty like immediate. I don't think that there would be any argument there that there's going to be impact.
So
But also
God,
just the
that's a
total
lot though.
impact on the economy. I mean, just people. It's just like when people get bad ideas about recessions and all sorts of stuff. They just stop doing things. There's just fear in the market, so people are just like, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't hire those new people. Maybe we shouldn't buy that new machine. Maybe we shouldn't move to the bigger plant. Maybe we
Yeah.
shouldn't expand our operations. Maybe
Yeah.
we shouldn't open up that new business." So that takes a lot
Right.
of impact
And that's
of
the
the economy.
trickle into the real estate market because really, while all this is happening, it seems like they're planning on flooding the market with like a ton of liquidity, right? However they can.
Hmm.
And they're going to lower interest rates for sure. And so we're going to be in this environment where it's like, oh man.
Back to the good old days.
Well, but
Prices
no.
are going up, baby.
Well, but no,
Darryl
because
said it.
no, that's not what I'm
You
saying.
just
I mean,
said
I'm
it. You
saying it,
said liquidity, and so everyone's got
I'm-
access to money.
but it's
Darryl
fighting.
Frankfort
It's
said
fighting.
prices are going back up.
It's fighting
Bumper.
against, but it's fighting against all of the other things that are pushing it down, like unemployment, which seems to be a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Even though I don't even know how many people here that we don't even know that are even here that are spending money and doing all kinds of stuff and buying stuff. And I don't know. I
What are you
I'm
trying to
not
say,
saying
Daryl?
I don't know what I'm trying to say because it's confusing and it's murky and this adds a fucking layer. And then okay, so imagine on top of the 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum and the 10% on energy, you add 100% tariff on the car industry, like
Which
you're
stops the
saying.
car part. Yeah, so that just
That
stops the
fucks
car
it up.
industry, which is
Yeah.
the first industry there was that like it's so reliant on Canada, US. That's the first industry that never had tariffs back like whatever it was 50 years ago. So that's like the first actual industry where they're like, hey, maybe we should do like this cross border way before NAFTA. And to me, it's impossible. There is no um, solution. It would take billions of dollars and decades before they could ever replace the Canadian supply chain. So like, I don't really think it's going to happen. I don't think. I think it's a threat. I think that it sounds good. Again, it's Wednesday, February 12th. I'm just basing my just opinion on the news that we've got today. I could be totally wrong tomorrow because we don't know. Trump is unpredictable, but I really have a hard time believing that one. And also he was targeting Canada in the beginning, and we got that 30-day pause because he was satisfied because we were protecting the border the same way that we had already started before that meeting that he had with Trudeau last Monday. But now he's targeting the rest of the world. He's basically saying steel and aluminum
Everywhere. This is
anywhere
blanket. Yeah, this is
from
blanket
any country. So it's
across the
not
board.
specifically towards Canada. And so this automotive one is a whole new thing now, which is like this is specifically targeting Canadian automotives. He's like they stole the automotive industry from America, and it's
Yeah,
like,
we
yeah, we
did.
did.
Yeah, we did. But you know what's crazy?
Give us
Like
Detroit.
we don't even have our own car company in Canada. Like we don't
No,
produce, there's no Canadian car company. It's not like, like
no.
all these little Asian islands have like these crazy car businesses, and we have all the stuff here
We
that you
never we
need to
never
make
needed
it.
it. We never needed it.
Never needed
We
it.
never needed it. The
Never
market
needed
between
it.
in the between US and Canada is big enough for GM and Chrysler and Ford to have existed for this long, you know? But yeah, obviously now with new automotive makers, which really I think is only Tesla in Canada that owns the share, like has the share of the market like they do. There could be an argument for that, you know? Is there another automotive company that says, "Hey, no problem, we'll move into those automotive plants and we'll set up shop in Canada for Canadians." Unlikely.
Oh,
This
I
is
think what's
unlikely.
going to happen is look who's advising Trump too. It's Musk, right? The guy who just completely recreated the way that the assembly line and mass production works, right? With
Hmm.
Tesla. And so I wonder if, if you moved everything, if you were forced to make an investment now in a manufacturing plant, right? Because you just like why would Ford stay in Canada now? They may as well just move their shit. And if they're going to be forced to make a plant, they can make these robotic plants that are like very automated and super efficient. And then they can take it a step further, even if they do it like Tesla does it, where they just cast one big part and like they make all their own parts and stuff. They don't have to rely on, like, this is a potential opportunity for these guys to kind of retool, rejig things, get more efficient, more effective, more profitable than ever before just by investing over there in the States. And so, like, what's that going to do?
Yeah.
That's what I
That's
think
a good
might
point.
happen.
It's a good point. I mean, it's forward thinking, shut down the industry like everything else. I got another topic to talk about that's similar. Like we're afraid of short-term pain. That
This
is, I
is the
think,
problem.
humans, like our industries, our companies, us as individuals, biggest shortfall is that in order to get the long-term gains, the delayed gratification, we're looking constantly for instant gratification. We're constantly looking to avoid short-term pain,
Avoid the pain.
and that is a huge detriment, right, to our success because there's just so many opportunities. Like, into the car industry is one for sure that you're talking about. Paying off the debt and being able to get ourselves a little bit more fiscally responsible is another one. We're drunk at the wheel here. We're drunk
Sure.
at the wheel and we're out of control, and everybody's just sort of like avoiding major decisions. And looking from the outside in, people, must be just looking at us going like, not people, like extraterrestrials must be looking at us going just like, what are they doing? They should just wipe out that entire city, that entire industry, those rental properties, those buildings. Like I was going to relate it to TCHE buildings, which we can talk about after. But like just start from scratch. Like look with Trump with Gaza. Again, topic we don't want to discuss. But there's probably a scenario in the world where there is a place, not Gaza, I don't know, where things need to start all over again. Where a clean slate would be a good thing for like everybody. Again,
No, but not like Gaza.
And I have no opinion on Gaza. Zero.
That's right.
Yeah, zero opinion on it. Just saying.
Yeah.
So
we don't need
those
to
type
buy
of things
it.
We're closed-minded on. We're closed-minded on for a lot of different reasons. And there's too many people's interest at stake. That's the other thing too, right? That's why dictatorships and other countries where they just get things done, we sometimes admire their work, but we don't realize just like how many people's lives were impacted and opinions were oppressed.
Does that really matter at the end of the day when the economy is growing and booming, TK? There has to be, listen, obviously, well, we don't really know. Well, maybe you do, but most people don't really know what it's like over there, right? They don't know what it's like. They just think it's worse because, we've been told that they make rice patties all day, and we don't really know how amazing it is over in Asia unless you actually like try and realize it or have been there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which most people haven't been there.
Most people haven't been there.
But those guys got a lot of stuff right too. And they're able to because they got one dude saying, okay, everybody focus on this right now, make the whole thing happen in 3 weeks and let's go. And then as a country, we'll focus our attention on destroying this industry over there. Right?
Otherwise, your families are dead. But hey,
whatever.
It's fine. Don't worry.
Much
We're gonna get it done together.
Right?
So I'm exaggerating, obviously, but yeah. So a lot of things like that, obviously, politics wise, the premiers are all down in Washington D.C. So again, news for today. They're all trying to basically convince all of the members of Congress to not support tariffs and giving pitching their own ideas and saying how bad it's going to be for Americans and everything like that. And that's like a pretty, like, when does that happen? It's like the government, the leaders of the Canadian government, while our faithful, loyal prime minister is in Europe right now, the premiers are going down to Washington D.C. to fight for Canadians businesses, basically, right? Canadians the economy as a whole.
But what are they doing? Like what are they what's this conversation like? So they go down there and Trump is publicly saying we don't need any of your stuff, guys. Like, okay, I get, like, he can't possibly think that their economy won't hurt for a bit first. Like, this has to be part of the calculation, right? Unless he knows something that nobody else knows. But at first, they're paying more for shit and slowing things down with all of this stuff, I think, right?
Yep. Creates inflation and actually makes things.
I don't know if it creates inflation, makes things more expensive, but things slow down. People stop spending more, right?
No.
I don't know if it's deflation, inflation, stagflation gets created from this whole mess. Well, isn't there a lot of things pushing up and down?
It's inflationary, bro. That's what it is.
Okay, so it's inflationary. Okay, so that's good for real estate. So hold on a sec. What's happening out there in the streets with real estate right now with all this shit swirling around? Because I don't know, like, I have some mixed conversations on my end of things, right? You got, depending on what you're working on in the development space right now, you're either like running scared and freaking the fuck out, or you are like, wow, did I make the right move at the right time, right? And I don't think there's too many guys that made the right move at the right time. There's a few guys that are doing like rental buildings that a lot of people are starting to go, wow, like, how'd those guys figure it out so long ago? And how, like, that's cool. Mine doesn't work like that, unfortunately. And there's a lot of guys that are like, you see that there's on the house end that you were saying there's a lot of power of sales and forced sales. Well, I got a feeling, like, I don't know how long people can not launch for. right? And
on the
not sell
development
the
side.
zoned land for? Like, how long can you just
Well,
wait around for?
there's more selling now too, and actually, if you go on your social media, you're gonna see a lot more ads for
Zoned sites
not for zone sites for pre-sales.
for pre-sales.
There's a lot more people
I see
right
in
now
Alberta.
selling sites. No, maybe it's my feed. That's what I'm just
What,
getting because I've been
assignments?
looking.
Assignments?
No, developers selling their projects, launching,
Who
going register.
launched?
I
What?
went over a bunch of them with you yesterday at breakfast.
We did?
Yeah, I was naming a bunch of
Before you tried to
addresses
poison me or after? Those are
before.
no, but those are not long. Those are not new. Those are
Some of
all
them are
like
registered, but that's what it is, though. Some of them are registering. Some of them have not even started sales. That's launching. They're coming out. They're ready to go. They're ready to
that
sell.
we talked about. No, really?
All those addresses we talked about,
I thought those were already out there.
but they're selling.
Yeah, they're selling now,
Yeah.
but they launched a while ago. There's only one new one, two new ones, which I heard. Holy Jesus! You want to hear what I heard today? This I I'm so confused by this site. 138 Yorkville. Okay,
hmm
all of a sudden they're digging the foundation. Okay,
hmm
and they didn't sell yet, and then they're coming out at $4,000 a square foot.
hmm
$4,000 a square foot. This is insanity.
Are you looking for the best merch store on the planet? Well, we got the shit for you. Coming in at low prices where we barely make any money off of whatsoever, you can get the greatest real estate merchandise on this platform. Just look at this very flamboyant man putting on this great stuff. He looks great, he's dancing great, and boy does he look sexy in that merchandise. I tell you, buy this for anybody, you buy this for yourself. You will be not only repping the greatest Canadian real estate podcast in this world, but you will also be looking hella good doing it.
This
How
is
much?
crazyville.
$4,000 a square foot.
Yeah.
Graybrook,
Graybrook
Yeah.
and
Citizen and First Capital.
Citizen and First Capital. And somehow they managed to finance this thing before they started selling. But I heard that they sold the penthouse for like $6,000 a foot or something crazy.
Yeah.
And so like there's certain product that if not geared towards the investor, geared towards the super affluent end user, that's still actually moving, right? I had a conversation with a guy today who's like, "Oh my God, your site's the best site for right now. Holy cow. It's like, it's small and it's like best area. And it's like, it's a no-brainer." And then they're talking about their sites and it's like, oi, right? Because it's like high rise downtown, investor size units,
Yeah.
paid for the land based on that, right? I'm like, you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But that isn't in fashion at all now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like on my end of things, it's like a weird mixed bag depending on where you are in things, right? I mean, talk to a rendering guy, he's probably on the verge of bankruptcy now. Marketing guys, like what are they marketing right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know what your end is like. I mean, I see my daughter running around like crazy. I know you're busy as hell, but what's the actual market doing?
We're getting offers. We got offer dates. One tonight doesn't look like anything's coming in, but it's a property that's been, been on the market before. It's just a tough sell, busy street. Another one tomorrow is in a
Holding back offers still?
The one that I was talking to Bailey about yesterday or the day before. There's an offer date. One that's already had a couple preemptive offers. We've got price drops. I dropped 10% today. So
Whoa.
it went from 2.5 down to 2.25. Right. So again, no offers 60 days. It's a price issue, right? Buyers of mine were supposed to make an offer on a place today that they backed out, but it just wasn't the right fit, and there's no offers registered yet, but still early. So it's hard to really get a good sense of the market when you're dealing just with one team or even just one agent, with one set of listings. You got to look at everything. You got to look at the monthly data. You got to look at different housing types, and it takes time. And we can always go back after about a few months and look back and say, hey, this is what the market was doing at that exact time. Right now, there's a lot of things that are harder to be able to gauge. But I can tell you with certainty, I'm getting lots of calls on listings. I got showings. There's buyers who want to buy. There's definitely a way to sell your property right now. So for me, in the detached housing market, freehold markets, I don't think anybody should say, oh, you can't sell a home right now, or you're going to have issues. No, if you do the right stuff to get it sold, you're going to get a property sold, no problem. Condos is a different story. I looked at a guy today in a condo in the 905, and prices have dropped a lot since last year, and where he's at right now is well below what he was expecting. He's probably worth the same price that he paid in 2021.
And what about like inventory right now? Because we saw like a big surge in January, and then I heard first week of February was pretty insane how much inventory came on the market. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, I mean, definitely we are getting more inventory, but it's not exploding. It's just a lot of calls. A lot of people. Had a lady middle of the night text me the other night, like, we need to sell. It's time. Da 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 da. And it's like back and forth with her for the last couple of years because of a need to sell, And then it's like, no, okay, we can wait a little bit longer now. And it's like, oh my God, like, some people they're right at the end of it. They're just hanging on. One thing people really underestimate is Canadians' resilience. Like they really care about their homes. They do. The pride of home ownership is so freaking high. People right now are underwater. They're, losing, like they're spending more money on their house than they're making every month. So they're building up debt as they go, and they're just hanging on. They're just hanging on. And so it's just like, how long does that take? Well, unless something drastically changes, eventually they are going to be forced to sell. It's just the reality of the situation. But
So
they're really
no,
hanging on way longer than a logical person would say they should be.
but no noticeable jump in inventory since end of January.
There's inventory that's coming on, but like I wouldn't say it's alarming. No.
And then it seems like there's lots of people in purchase mode, but not really willing to meet the pricing that's out there. Is that kind of
No.
what's happening, or?
No, I got places, that are getting good offers. I'd say if anything, um, you know, if your house is not selling right now, it's maybe because the seller's expectations are just too high. But when
Right.
you look at what's been selling around the neighborhood, the buyers are willing to pay those prices.
Right.
That's the difference, right?
And so is the
It's
difference?
it's when last week the house sold for $1 million, and now the buyers are like, "Whoa, $1 million, that's too much." That's an issue. But if the last week the house sold for $1 million, the buyers are all like, "Yeah, $1 million, like I'll take it all day long." But the sellers are like, "But I want 1.2." And so then it's like, well, that guy just got $1 million. So that's what you got to be a little bit more cautious of. In certain areas, you're going to have easier time to evaluate a property. There's going to be a lot of sales, and people are going to be able to say, well, this is what it's worth because that's really super clear. Other areas it's not so clear, so they need an agent to make it work. I mean, I put in 2 offers today for buyers.
For what kind of product?
One's a vacant land. The other one's like a rebuild type of house that like needs to be torn down.
Vacant land to build like one house, or to
One
build a
house.
subdivision?
One house. Yeah.
Right.
So people are buying, I got, like I said, my listings, I got people interested. I got offers coming in. I got people asking me questions. I got people thinking about it, second showings. It's there, but some of them aren't selling because my seller's expectations are too high. And I can see that. Like I said, I just dropped one for 10%. So obviously it may not be the only listing I got right now that needs that. And other properties are, getting activity, which I'm expecting offers on some of them soon.
So, but what has to happen for how are there any sellers that expectations are realistic when you talk to them? And like, what has to be the scenario for that to manifest? Because most people with everything think that whatever's theirs is worth, at least as much as the best thing, the other best thing out there, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to predict, to be honest with you. You would think, well, the bank is about to take their home, and so therefore they're going to be really, no, those are like the least realistic people, because they want to have a miracle come in to save them and get them this like huge premium that doesn't exist so that they can walk away with some money. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. And then, sometimes it's other reasons. I mean, motivation, sure, they'll eventually get there. The motivation for the sellers who need to sell will eventually get there, but it doesn't mean that they start out right. And so as an agent, you're always balancing that out. Like, okay, if I just tell these sellers they're crazy, some other agent is going to take the listing. He's going to go on the journey with them, and eventually they're going to sell, and then they're going to end up selling for much less than what they want because it's obvious, but at least that agent's going to get the business. So sometimes you got to do that with your clients. And it's like the skill of a realtor to say, like, how serious are these people, and are they going to be realistic eventually to go on that road with them? Or I took over a listing for a guy who was on our team, but he like changed industries. So I took over his listing. It was in Richmond Hill, and I was dealing with the seller. I thought I had a good thing going with him. I mean, I get put into a situation with an overpriced listing that the guy bought it for $180,000 more than it's worth today, back in 21 or 22. I don't know. But anyways, long story short is I'm that listing just expired, So, I tried to basically talk to the seller to say, let's, get it on at the right price. Let's do it right. Da, 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 da. And I just got ghosted, and he wasn't interested in talking to me. So I was like, all right, well, good luck. So we pick up our sign and pick up our lockbox and move on. You know what I mean? So it's like lost business. We spent all this money marketing. We spent all this time. We did all these things. I saw all the messages and things like that our old agent had sent to the guy. He spent a lot of time in it, but it is what it is. I mean, you chalk that up. So that's the real estate business, is you got to know who to go on that journey with and who not to go on that journey with. And that just comes from experience. In that particular case, to me, there was a lot of evidence that said that guy was not somebody to go on that journey with, but who like, you never really know. It's always just about what the situation is, like I had to sell a couple people's properties who came to me who are like, they're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars within a short period of time from the 2022 peak stuff. And, when they're basically at the point where they're just like, TK, like, I'm losing $5,000 a month and I don't have the money, and the bank's going to take the house if I don't get it sold, then it's like, all right, let's see what we can do. And you try to just make the situation as best they can. But if they're like, I want to get my money back and I'm carrying the property and the rent pays this and I don't need the money and will you take the listing? And it's kind of like, you're going to lose $200,000 here. Like, is that okay with you? Well, no. It's like, well, I can't really prevent that. So, should we be listing? Probably not,
So, but is it stupid these days to, I mean, I guess there's so many listings, but is it stupid to pass up a listing, like, in case they get realistic? Or
there's plenty of examples of yes, but again, that is the realtor's skill and also risk that we take. You're going to have to lose if you're a good agent. You are definitely going to take on some listings that don't end up selling, because there'll be other ones that maybe you think, hey, maybe I shouldn't take this on, but then the seller ends up seeing that you're working hard and you're doing everything you're supposed to, and that these are just the realities of the current situation, and then says to you, okay, TK, what do we got to do to get it sold? And then you say, well, let's actually price it right this time and see what happens. And miraculously it sells, and they go, wow, you really know what you're doing.
Well, listen, I mean, it's easy to price it right being the salesperson, not the person about to lose like everything, right?
Yeah,
that's a really tough
sensitive.
thing. Yeah, it's a tough thing to deal with. So what about, so those people that come to you, like the power of sales, are like, as a realtor, is this a good thing? Like, oh, I got a power of sale. This thing's going to sell for sure. This thing's going to right? Because let's be honest.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've talked about this before, but it's been a while. Okay.
Okay.
If you're selling a house for somebody, okay, and the price fluctuates 50, 100 grand, what you as an agent take home at the end of the day, right? Like, your input
inconsequential
is inconsequential. No matter how expensive the house is, relative to your commission.
It's never a thought. It's never like, hey, if I get him an extra $100,000, I'm going to make X more dollars on the commission. Like,
that's one side of it. So,
okay,
that's interesting. Okay, so I don't even think of it that way, right? I think of it more the other way. It's like, you have like no reason not to talk me into taking 50 grand less, right? Because what the fuck do you care? You get the deal done. And listen, if you do it in the right way, The
Yeah.
deal sold in a year from now. I'm not so butthurt anymore, and we're friends
When I
again. Right?
when my clients say that to me, it tells me I didn't do a good job telling them about who I am and what my role is. My
What do
role
you
is to make sure that I get them the most amount of money for them. Has nothing to do with me.
forget about that?
But it has
Forget it.
nothing
I
but
know
it has
that.
nothing to do with me.
Okay,
So
forget about
when they say,
you, TK. Forget about you. Okay,
okay, but
the agents out there that aren't as wonderful and honest as you.
but I'm just relating it. I think most agents are thinking the same way because literally that
You don't think your
$1,000,
brother
a couple
Bob that you
thousand
chose to
grand
use?
commission more or less one way or another, that shouldn't impact any decision an agent makes.
Okay, honey, we're gonna use my brother Bob because he's hurting right now and he needs
Yeah.
some money and he's an agent and he's gonna sell this thing.
Okay, but it's
That dude
tens
is
of thousands
coming.
of dollars for one commission. Whether Bob gets them 50 grand less or more doesn't impact that tens of thousands of dollars that
That's what I'm
much.
saying. It doesn't impact Bob at all. So he's like, you
Yeah.
know what? I think you guys should come down 50 grand. Let's get the deal done. It affects him $50. They
Yeah.
lose 50 grand.
But Bob should
Right?
never be, his commission shouldn't impact that at all. It should be based on what's selling in the neighborhood. That's why he's given that advice.
Um,
There's really no relation whatsoever to the fee when that advice is being given. I mean,
no, but when the opportunity presents itself, when you got
yeah,
an offer and you're sitting
yeah,
there, right? And you're like, I want 1.5, and the offer comes in at 1.450, right?
yeah.
Your agent is now going to say something to you. He's
Well,
going to say either
then it
I
would
think you should
that
take this,
okay, okay.
or
I'll give you an honest answer then. Then it would be the consequences of getting a commission or not. So, for example, your listing's about to expire. They've already told you that they're talking to other agents. They've already said to you they think you're doing a horrible job, and now you got an offer coming in 2 weeks before expiry. That agent's probably not going to say, well, I want to make sure you guys get the most amount of money anymore. He's going to say, how do I protect my commission here? I'm about to lose the listing and not get any commission whatsoever.
with
And that
every
type of
offer,
situation.
that's
So
the
he would
situation.
pressure. Well, you know what? If you got a longer listing period, this is a great little thing here you're doing, Darryl. It helps me explain things for agents. If you're an agent right now, this is a great idea, like a great thought process. When sellers ask you to take a shorter listing period, you're actually setting yourself and them up for a high pressure environment. Because now the agent, you get an offer. Let's say you got a 60-day listing, the shortest term possible on the Toronto Real Estate Board. And now all of a sudden you get an offer after 30 days. It's your first offer. And you're going like, these sellers told me I got 60 days to sell. Otherwise, if I don't sell it, they're never going to use me again because they got all these other agents that they're interviewing and I got a short lease, 60 days. Well, now you're under the gun. So now as the agent, as a human being, you're going to start trying to say to them, well, you know what, guys, the tariffs and
The first offer is the best offer.
Your first offer is the best offer and the roof is leaking and all that stuff. And so that now puts pressure on the agent to convince their sellers to take less money, which means the sellers now receive pressure from their own agent on, selling the property for less money. You should be
doesn't impact
signing
them.
You should be listing with an agent that after you've interviewed all the agents out there, they got the best system, they got the best reputation, they got the best customer service, and that you're 100% happy with them, and then commit to them for a longer period so that you get more money, so that you can actually feel confident that if you do get an offer after 30 days, your agent's not just going to be like, hey, Darryl, you should take it because I'm about to be out of a job, that they're actually going to review the offer with you and actually look at all the prospects, look at all the feedback, look at all the neighborhood sales, look at all the, economic factors in the macro to say to you, Darryl, I think you should take this offer, or I think that you should wait for something better.
Can you imagine in commercial and land? Okay. So you're working on this deal. It's been tied up for like 6 months. And before it was tied up for 6 months, you worked on it for 3, 4, a year, even potentially. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of a sudden the deal's unraveling at the last minute. Right. And
Yeah.
the guy, the buyer comes and goes, you know what, Francisco, we love the deal, but I don't know. Tariffs, blah, 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 fluffa.
Yeah.
We were at 18 million, but now we're at 16.5, right? And so Francisco comes back to me and he goes, hey, I know we had a deal and everything's fucking falling apart in the world and blah, blah, blah. Like, I really think you should, you know what? I was thinking strategically, go in even lower than what they offered you. Okay. Really make sure we get this thing done. Like there's this vested interest because you're watching, imagine in the land. Okay.
Is
Like
Francisco
what?
the agent?
Yeah, he's the agent.
Okay.
Yeah, he's my agent.
He's
He's
your agent.
trying to
Okay.
convince me to take $1.5 million
16.5.
haircut, right?
Yeah. Well, you
Because
know what?
why?
Because of the
Francisco.
tariffs.
Because of the tariffs, you son of a bitch, right? And so, but the point I'm trying to make is either way, like you bring up, you don't have a vested interest to go, you know what? Like they walked in here, they've been in this thing 3 times now, okay? The lady is dripping in jewelry. They pull up in a Rolls. I can squeeze another 50 grand out of these people, no problem. No problem.
Okay.
How many agents are there motivated to pull that move?
So when you have an agent who's doing a lot of deals, it's much more likely, not just from the experience side, but also from the abundance. No, that's experience too, but the abundance of business that they already have, so they don't feel that pressure. When you have a system where an agent's doing 1 deal a year, or maybe one every couple of years, and finally he's got an opportunity to sell something, yeah, he's going to be saying whatever he needs to say to his seller to try to get him to take that haircut. And so you're shooting yourself in the foot by having that agent working for you. Are you a real estate agent and you're looking to make a change? Anywhere in Ontario, guess what? We're hiring. Franklin Associates, #1 team in the GTA for all RE/MAX teams, #1 team for all teams from all companies for number of units sold throughout Toronto. So if you're looking to make a change, best decision I ever made was to join Franklin Associates. Go to jointeamleo.com and we can set up a call.
Can you imagine you're selling your house, okay? And it's not like crazy market. It's like normal market, right? There isn't like bidding wars all over the place. And somebody brings you an offer. You're asking 1.5 and they bring you an offer for 1.5. And your agent goes, you know what? Like, I think I can squeeze a little bit more out of them. How often does that happen? That should happen. There should be an incentive somewhere that says, you know what? Like, here's your base commission. If you get somewhere near this, you can do that.
Yeah, you can do that. You just can't have a
I'll split it with
combination of
50-50.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that.
You can split the over and above in a different way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And you think you deserve that, you bastard realtor? No, you don't. You should just do that because you should want to do that, right?
Yeah. I don't want to say because
motivated.
Rico's always got their guidelines, but
Oh,
there's lots of ways to structure your agreements. There's certain ways you're not allowed, but there's other ways that you can. And I believe what the RICO guideline is. I'm not saying we did this or didn't do this, so please don't report me.
This is not from experience.
What I believe the only way you can do it is if you reduce the fee. You can't increase your fee. You can't say, well, I'm going to charge you 3%, but if I get you more, you give me more. But I believe you can say, I'm going to charge you
adjust the fee.
X fee. And if I don't reach those targets, then I'll lower it for you. I believe that is the correct way to do it.
Yikes.
So,
that sounds dangerous. Okay, so hold on a sec. So then from a realtor's perspective, getting the power of sale come to you and fall in your lap is not an ideal scenario.
No, I got one right now. I'm telling them to rent it out. I'm like, listen, this is the credit union, right? Because they got like credit union, they use a lot of times it's like pensions and different people's money, right?
How does that work though? How is that the solution to being foreclosed on?
Okay, so bottom line is they've got this property that they're going to lose a ton of money on. And so it's their money. Their money. They've already got possession of the property, right? The person has no equity left in the property and they're losing money. There's no way that the credit union can get their money back. And so maybe we're priced right, maybe we're not. I don't know. But all I'm going to say is that if they sell at the price we're asking, they lose a lot of money. And so I was like, well, just like rent it out. Like, put this into a portfolio and see how it goes. So they're checking with the regulator, they're checking with their investors and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, guys, what can I do here?
Rent it out and just lose monthly slowly?
Slowly? And just keep it as a rental investment and sell it later on. You know what I mean? Like figure out how they need to justify that to their members, figure out how the regulator handles all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's hard to say. Probably shouldn't be talking about it. But bottom line is, power sales are not easy, especially in this environment when we had such a drastic drop in prices, because sometimes those lenders have lended at higher rates. I'm doing some multifamily stuff right now, and like the appraisals Like when you go to get your multifamily property appraised, because they're using commercial appraisal methods, right? So it's like cap rates and price per door and things like that too, which are huge can be skewed by so many different things.
Yeah.
The appraised value of what these multifamily stuff is when someone's going to refinance is nowhere near what it would sell for on the market. Like it's crazy the evaluation methods that they use to be able to say that a certain property is worth X because of the income approach. When like, well, if I put this on the market right now, I'd get like nowhere near that. And so there's a lot of multifamily buildings that I know for sure, just through deducing that if I'm seeing it in this area, it must be happening elsewhere, where the debt that they have on that property is more than what the building's worth.
Right.
Now they underwrite it, so it's like an income property. So it's like that income is coming in, and they got their allowances, and they've got their debt coverage ratios and everything like that to ensure.
Yeah, but
that
loan to values out the window.
But loan to like appraised value they were happy with, but loan to like what market value, what it would sell for, if that property ever went belly up, if the tenants stopped paying, if all that kind of stuff, there would be a ton of multifamily hitting the market owned by the banks that would be over leveraged for sure.
Well, I think what we have right now is a lot of the power of sales are on those properties that people were just really dumb on, right? That appraised for like way too high back in the day. And not only did they appraise for too high, they managed to get stupid debt on it that was way too high. And so their equity blew out the door if they even really had much in there at all after the second or third mortgage, right?
So B lenders, Darryl, went from 3% to 9%.
Yeah.
Because it was a really competitive market, right? And when B lenders are borrowing at 0.25% and the overnight rate, and they've got to put it out at 3% because of the competitiveness in the market, and all of a sudden now, when they were borrowing at 5%, depending on the timing, and the bond market, was a lot higher than at 3% as well. They are lending out at 9%. So imagine going after you've got crushed in whatever area of your life, the renovation, the job, whatever it was that you had to borrow all this money for, the reason that you had to borrow all this money for, and then you went from 3% to 9%. Like nobody survives that.
No.
Nobody. You don't come out of that okay.
So Uncle Ron put out a video or some content somewhere, and everybody, people, shout out to Uncle Ron. And, they're talking about how mortgage arrears are jumping off the page, diving off a cliff. No, they're going up. Mortgage arrears are going through the roof, TK.
Yeah.
And, it's not only Uncle Ron. There's a whole bunch of people talking about it. I mean, but the jump, although gigantic, is like from 0 to like 300. Right. So not that that's not a giant jump or whatever the jump is. Okay. It's like,
I get it.
The
We're
number
still 0.0 something percent.
Yeah, it's like fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Where's the tsunami? Right. If like people are having an issue with the 200 and they're writing all these articles, like what happens when it's 2000? Will it get to that, TK? Or is this tsunami crisis gonna be averted because of the lower interest rates due to the tariff wars?
Yeah.
Yes, is his answer. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Is that all? Is that all you got? Yes.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Well,
but I think that
that
there's a lot of talk about this right now, and I mean it's scary. So like that's why it makes good news. And Uncle Ron's good content creator, so you guys know that he's going to be putting stuff out there. Mortgage delinquency rates, Canada wide, Q2 2012 0.38, all the way to Q3 2024 went down to 0.2. So the fact that it's climbing up is now what people are alarmed about, right? Going back to the 90s, it was higher than that, but even just in the last 13 years, we were actually coming from like historic lows, right? That's the problem. Is that when you're coming from historic lows.
Only because of COVID, but like before that, like we're lower than 2014 through to 2020.
Exactly.
Which is like, it's kind of crazy. So like, why is that? I'm going to call this one a nothing burger, TK. I'm going to say it.
You're going to say it.
I'm going to say it for once,
Ouch.
right? Because
what it was in the 90s.
the problem with the delinquency rates jumping is that you have a better chance of some dumb fuck on your street screwing up the numbers for the comps, right? The more of these desperate sons of bitches that, take a fire sale because they just absolutely have to because they were morons, and maybe not all of them were morons, but I think most of them were morons, TK. No? I mean, I know when
No,
I
they
got
made bad decisions.
yeah,
Yep.
because they're morons. So yeah, when I got caught by the market, I was an absolute moron. I turned into a genius, TK, years later from that experience. Okay.
Yeah.
But back then, I was a recluse moron. And do you know how many recluse morons there are out there in the real estate market, especially in Toronto, with fucking piles of money, thinking that they could do anything?
Tell me.
Like,
How many?
well, I don't know. Don't you meet them all? I don't know.
I wouldn't call them that. I
They're
mean,
all
it's just
over the place.
it's just the way it goes.
They
All
bought in Bancroft,
mortgage delinquency rates. All right. Up to in the 90s, you were up in like the 0.6s. 0.6s. So we're in like the
0.6% for
0.3.
Canada?
We're still half of yeah. We're still half of what it was. It'd have to double in order for it to get back to where we were, where there were power sales on like every street and all that kind of stuff. So,
So we have a long way to go because there's only like 300. I don't know how many, if that's 300 in Canada, but that's such a tiny percentage that at the moment it doesn't take an effect. And so hold on a sec. So everybody's saying that unemployment, right, is a problem.
They added jobs. They added jobs. They just went from 6.7% down to 6.6.
Right? Like we added 76,000 jobs somehow.
They added jobs.
Who's adding jobs? I have no idea. Apparently,
probably the government again.
No, they lost jobs. The government
took away jobs
in this print, as us economists like to call it, TK. In the current print, TK, the government actually shed jobs in this last print. They shed jobs, TK.
Well done, boys. Well done.
But the private sector, okay. Now it's a lot of it, TK, was part-time jobs, which, I mean, when you're looking for a job, you'll accept a part-time job until you can find a full-time job, right? Nobody wants two part-time jobs.
Or maybe you already have a full-time job and you just took on another job
because you need to pay the bills.
You need the money.
Oh no, right?
Because that's the other part too, is right. If you add all those part-time jobs up, because there's guys, I see it all the time on social media. They're like, I'm working 2 full-time jobs right now. I'm working 60, 70 hours a week for 2 different companies. This is how I'm doing it. And I got to hustle. Like, so people are doing those type of things. So you can
add a Shopify store.
But if it's just going to a guy who's already got another job, the same amount of people who are lining up for food stamps are still there.
Right.
Yeah.
But does that guy count as 2 jobs in the stats that we get?
Yeah, of course, it's got to. It's a job. It's a job. It is what it is. Okay, I want to talk about something else with you. Let me just touch on the TCHC thing quickly.
What's TCHC?
The Toronto Community Housing Buildings.
Okay.
So again, they're back in the news because they got a $1.8 billion backlog, and obviously the cities, or maybe even Canada's biggest landlord, is definitely the cities, is got their name in the news again. I mean, when do we stop? Like, when is a building point the past of repair? When is there like no point in putting money into a certain project? Does that ever exist?
Why should it get to that point is the real question.
But the cost of repairs are more than the replacement cost new.
But why should it get to that point? Why shouldn't it just be maintained properly and not get to the point where you have to replace everything? Because
it's like your 700,000 kilometer Toyota Tercel. Like, eventually you just got to put it to rest, Darryl.
Fine. Okay.
Right?
So then I suppose, listen, by the time that happens with these, if you maintain it properly and you have people in there that take care of it because 1, they have to, or they're going to get kicked out, and 2, they want it because they love it there. It's so great to be there, right? Yeah. And everybody's maintaining this beautiful space. Then by the time you get to that point where it's so fucked up you need to do something, you can put 18 towers on that site, okay? right? Move them to another beautiful place that the government owns around the corner and
Yeah.
redevelop that bastard, right? And
Yeah.
put up something new and beautiful
Yeah.
again. And every fucking look, if you build it properly, maintain it properly, why doesn't it? Look at New York. How old are those buildings, right?
But they were built better.
They were built better.
Some of those buildings were
Exactly.
built
Why the
better.
fuck are we not building
We're
like that
protecting
anymore?
like these old buildings like from only like 50, 60 years ago that need to be demolished and rebuilt and the land used and repurposed to build bigger and better.
It's crazy.
And but the problem is, and I met a paralegal for TCHC on this GO train one time, and her and I were talking about all sorts of stuff, and like this, they've got the biggest issues at the landlord tenant board. You know, she would be the person who probably has the most files at the landlord tenant board compared to
The
everybody
Toronto
else.
Community Housing?
Yeah, you know, like they just have
Oh
so
my
many
God.
issues going on
Fucking
all the time. Like
ingrates.
even the city. And so like where does it stop? You know? And these are some of the things that the government, you know, has to change. When you've got a liberal government and you got people who are too far left wing, and I'll go a little bit into my views here, you have these type of policies that allow for this type of stuff to happen, where all of a sudden now people's rights supersede others.
Whose
You know?
supersedes whose?
Well, the people who are in need of social housing supersedes the rights of the vast majority of the population, right? Because we're wasting money now. We're throwing money into a building that makes no sense to repair just because we're trying to protect that guy's $448 a month rent.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
And the system backlog with the landlord tenant. I got an eviction order right now for a property that is 100% signed off on through an ex parte order, landlord tenant board, ready to go. January 3rd, issued. Tenants, go. Landlord brings it to the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office says, the enforcement office, well, we got a lot of evictions going on right now, and we're booking sometime in April. So we'll
Amazing.
let you know. Hasn't heard from them yet.
So isn't there jobs there? Like people are looking for jobs. Couldn't they hire some people to
They've already
speed up
got the
process?
board. So imagine all the people who have to wait a year or more to get their hearing, to get their eviction notice. Then they finally walk in there, you know what I mean? Their shoulders are strutting. They're like, that tenant owes me 50 grand. And then they're like, sorry, sir, but our enforcement office is backed up. And that there's going to be at least a 3 to 4 month delay.
So, but are you saying that there's people living in the community housing that aren't even paying their little fraction of the rent?
Sure, they have all sorts
because
of
they're complaining about
but
shit?
they also have tenant notices. They're also saying, hey, the landlord's not fixing this, that, and the other.
That's
So
what
the
I mean.
tenants are waiting for those type of things too. So they're paying their $448, but now they're complaining because there's a leaky sink or whatever.
Wow, what a fuck up.
It's such a broken system. And like
Why?
nobody likes the real answer here, but the real answer is just to be able to like blanketly condemn any building that's in a certain, like there's like these ratings on basically how far beyond repair. And if it gets to the point where the cost of repair is greater than replacing the building, you just condemn the building and everybody's got to go. And then they just wipe it out and they try to find housing for people. But it's amazing when people have no other choice. It's amazing when you give people an option, how lazy they get. It's amazing when you tell people, don't worry, we'll take care of you, when they just go, okay. It's amazing how many people could be more than what they are if you just back them into a corner and say, hey, you need to fight to get your way out of here, you know? And that's, unfortunately, the system doesn't support that. The system actually promotes people not working, promotes people not, you know, making something of themselves, moving to another city, finding options, living with family, whatever it is that they could be doing, and then it actually holds people back. So anyways, those are my views.
Broken.
I'll stay out of that.
So, but what they really do need to figure out is a way to incentivize the private sector to build them, maintain them, and somehow be able to be profitable on them, while having a community that gives a shit about the beautiful place you're able to provide for them, right?
Exactly.
Like
$1.8 billion in backlog. That money could be given to backlog of repairs. Means they have still outstanding. They haven't even done them yet.
Just
that money could be used.
Thing.
Yeah, that money could be used to give to developers as incentives to build something new in its place.
I mean, it doesn't go very far, 1.8 billion, but it does do something for sure.
Sure, but also it gives the builders an opportunity, developers an opportunity to build housing on free land that they could lease from the city, that they could then hopefully be able to provide affordable housing, right?
Attainable housing.
Obtainable housing,
Attainable housing.
suitable housing.
Why does
Let's almost
this
say suitable.
person deserve like
If you got
half
$2,000
their
a month,
rent?
well, this one suits you.
Right? Like, yeah, but why does this lady here deserve to
Yeah.
have so much of her rent paid for by all of us?
Yeah.
Because she can't fucking get off her ass. I mean, are these all people that have mental issues? TK, am I being insensitive here?
Yeah, yes,
Are these
because there's
people in
examples of people who
wheelchairs?
do need it, and so it's like you have to be sensitive. There are people, but the system is abused.
Most people
I
are
knew
sitting there.
somebody one time years ago who was like young, like we were in our 20s, and they lived in the TCHC seniors building. It was like for people over 65 or whatever it was, and they lived there. And then it was like, how much is your rent? It's like, it's free. And it was just
Free.
like, how did you manage this? I never asked how, but like that's the type of situation that's out there. Is there's just
crazy.
people milking the system out
There's-
there?
But
who
that's
shouldn't
the
be there.
incentive. Like when you have a lazy population to begin with, and then there's
Yeah.
schemes out there that, I mean, it's not easy either, right? So
I know.
So when there's schemes out there that allow for that, people are going to find ways to abuse it. That's for damn sure.
But there'll be I'm gonna use what we talked about in the beginning. There'll be a bunch of liberals commenting in our comment section, Daryl,
Yeah.
about how we need to create more social housing and that we need to offer more programs to help those who need it, and we'll take heat for it. And
It's
if I
called
say that
Saskatchewan.
if we say we need to create more social housing, then
there.
everyone will call us liberals.
That's okay. Listen, I don't care what people call me. The whole thing is crazy. And okay, so now add to this whole fakakta thing. I don't know
Okay.
if you saw what's going on, and this is probably not interesting to most people, but I find it very interesting. The
Okay.
old city hall, the old courthouse, like they decided to move their courthouse to some other location. And now
Okay.
they've decided to just leave this beautiful heritage, like super historic building with all
Beautiful
kinds
building.
of beautiful building empty and vacant, because who the hell wants to rent that place? And like it needs some work, and then it's going to need a ton of renovations for some other use, right? Like how
Yeah.
many uses are there for this thing? But right now they're all fighting in council about the maintenance budget for this thing. Do we maintain it? Do we not? Like, you know how much it's going to cost the taxpayers to maintain this empty historic building to a point where it doesn't start to decay and rot and fall apart and get all fucked up even more than it is?
Yeah.
And these are the burdens that these morons.
So example.
We need to move.
No. There's certain architecture that should be preserved. There's certain things that, yes, let's put the money into protecting certain heritage buildings and certain architecture that doesn't exist anywhere else, and beautiful buildings and landmark buildings and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. Let's divert the money in there. But if the building starts to get to that point and it's like some ugly 1950s apartment building in the hood, like it should just be an instant, like, okay, here's the bill, here's the repair bill, here's the cost of rebuilding something brand new. Doesn't make sense for us to repair it anymore because we're going to have to do those repairs again in 20 years. Condemned, knock it to the ground, rebuild it. Okay, repair bill here, irreplaceable structure, old city hall, we got to repair it. Like that should be the math.
And we should have to occupy it too. The government.
Sure,
should
Well, the
have to
government has to be
occupy
there.
it.
You can't.
Why
Like
are you
that's such a
moving?
landmark building.
Right? Why are you
Yeah,
moving?
why are they
you fucking
moving?
assholes? What
People
is
should be
this shit?
married there again. The court should go back there again. Everything should just be renovated and brought back in again.
Renovate it, make it beautiful. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if it has to be a courthouse, but it should be something that they use, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Not that they go back to the office, these government people. Although,
yeah.
I mean, I guess some of them do. TK, I don't know if was this a helpful conversation for you today? Did we get
Maybe.
anywhere?
Maybe. Actually, I want to talk to you about one last thing. So there
We
was
have more?
Yeah,
We got an
Terry on
agenda.
deposit rules.
Carry on
Deposit
deposit
rules.
for
So basically,
developers?
so for buyers, what they're talking about is they're saying
Buyers.
hey, there's a lot of illegal people building houses. And so Tarion has got a way to protect people's deposits. So in case you happen to come across one of these builders and your deposit is lost because they were doing an illegal build, and then all of a sudden they go bankrupt, and now all of a sudden, you know, your money's gone. You've got this government arm to go to Tarion and say, hey, Tarion, you know, like you guys got all that money from all those fees you're collecting and the government support. You know, help me out here. I want some of my money back. Well,
It's not
Tarion's like,
only
well,
for that though. They're like the warranty program.
I know, but this
Yeah.
is just part of their deposit program. And so they're saying, well, we're running out of money because so many people are going bankrupt and so many companies are building illegally. So we need to now basically say to people, if you want your deposit to be fully insured like it was before, you need to, as soon as you buy a house, a freehold house, report to us and say, we are buying a freehold property. Here's the development. Here's the developer's name, all that kind of stuff. I want my deposit to be fully insured. So the onus becomes on the buyer.
That's crazy.
And so then that way it's a loophole for Tarion to say, hey, sorry, you didn't tell us when you bought from TK Butler, Home Builders, 5-Star Inc., Tarion Warranty Certified company that has never been registered or has Tarion, even though the name suggests it might be. And now they're bankrupt because they screwed everything up. So therefore your deposits, you know, no longer insured or only partially insured. So it just passes the buck on to the consumer so that they have to go and you know, seek out Tarion to sort of say, hey, look, I just bought a property, and please make sure that my deposit is fully insured, which then gets Tarion to look into the builders, because the issue is this: builders don't register their projects with Tarion.
Do you want to know what's so crazy about this though?
What?
So I got busted back in 2007 or 8 building illegal houses from Tarion.
There's no surprise from anybody listening to
nobody
right
at all. The thing is, and I don't know if it's not the case right now, but I know it was a few years ago, and it was back when I did it, and I'm pretty sure it's probably the case still, is on that application for your permit when you're building a new house, it asks you all kinds of stuff about who's building it, okay? Who is they call it the constructor, okay? Who is the builder? Who is the constructor? Who is the vendor, okay? They have all these terms that need to be laid out, and if you're building a new house with a builder, there's supposed to be the Tarion number on the application. And somehow, I don't know how, nobody
permits
fills
are being
it out,
issued,
and permits are getting issued all over the bloody place, right? And so I don't know what
say,
that's
I'm
all
building
about.
for myself. It's for me and my 11 children.
So, but hold on a sec. So what I learned through my experience when I got in trouble, and I got Tarion faster than anybody on earth ever because I had to, and I had to leave big fat deposits, which would not have covered anybody's anything, because it was like maybe 25,000 per house, and these are like million something houses at the time.
Yeah,
their deposit, I don't know, it wasn't like
it's insurance.
It covers fucking nothing, right? Unless they have to dip into their coffers. And the thing is this Tarion thing is just a big giant scam from all sides, right? And so I had to get my Tarion, leave them a bunch of money, and what happened? Like, I had to disappear too, right? Because I had all kinds of financial problems. If they called me, it didn't matter to me anymore if somebody complained to Tarion about me, right? I had bigger fish to fry. I had big fucking problems, right? But what I learned through going to this intense quick course to get my Tarion is that if you hire a project manager, okay, and the contract is done in a particular way, now the onus goes on to the homeowner, who becomes the constructor and becomes the person that needs to have the warranty. And you have this hired gun that's just a project manager for you. And this became like a loophole with everybody. And everybody started saying, yeah, I'm building it for me. And I'm hiring a builder, right? He's a project manager. Don't worry about it, right?
Yeah.
But even those people didn't have to register their houses with Tarion. And it just became like this big game of like, yeah, I'm moving in. Oh, you know what? I think I'll sell it. I changed my mind, right?
Yeah.
It's like just a big sham. It's unfortunate.
It's my seventh one. I thought the seventh one would be the one that I wanted to move into. You know, I built
yeah.
all six, and I just hated the way that the tiles looked. You know, in the light at 6 o'clock in the morning through the east-facing windows. I can't get over that. I need
No.
to sell. It's just driving me crazy.
Yeah. No, why do you need to see my bank statements for this? What do you need that for? Right. And this is
I
guys
changed
were
my
doing
address
it
on my driver's license to this
over and
address.
over, right? Over and over.
I was gonna move him.
But this was the game. And now I don't know. Now they've got all kinds of people. They hired all kinds of people. They're catching all kinds of people. And still, like we saw, wasn't State View like getting not pre-orders. They were getting reservations.
Yeah.
Which is right.
Non-Tarion
Non-Tarion covered reservate like
so Sunrise Homes are the ones that actually
Sunrise, I think it was.
that just happened. No, it's
Oh.
State View too. The one that the article was about Sunrise Homes.
Which article?
That I'm referencing.
What are we even talking
The
about?
Tarion deposit changes.
Oh, is
Yeah,
that what we're talking about? That there's changes that are coming?
Where were you for the last 5 minutes?
I don't remember you telling me changes. I just remember
so
taking over the conversation.
The changes are that now the consumer will have to.
That's the change?
That's the change.
Oh, okay. I was
because the people from Sunrise are like, what the heck? What do you mean they're bankrupt and they got no money and they can't give me my deposit back and Tarion doesn't have enough money and I want
That's
like,
not
what?
a change. What change does that make? There's still
So
no
the
money.
rule is the rule is
Yeah.
Tarion now is going to require buyers once they buy in order to have their deposit insured fully, they have to reach out to Tarion after they buy to register the project, as opposed to them trying to find who's building illegally and who's not and investing in this and having a little checkbox in the municipalities to say, hey, if someone's going to get a building permit issued, don't you think that Tarion should be involved and that this file should be sent to them just to double check that this person's actually got the insurance and registration through Tarion? None of that stuff is happening. None of the things that should be happening is happening. Instead, they're saying, Mr. Consumer, the person that we're trying to protect, it's up to you to be able to register the site basically on behalf of this illegal builder, because we just want to know who's building and who's not building, because if you want your money, we don't have enough money. And so if you register, there's a chance we might have enough money. But if you don't, there's also a chance we don't give you back your money.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you tell on the builder and we collect the fees, or your house doesn't get built. And this is what happens. Okay. So this guy's selling to all these people. One guy actually calls in and makes sure he's registered with Tarion. That guy disappears, doesn't build anything because now all of a sudden they owe like $5 million in Tarion deposits, right? That guy's like, I can't do this. And he disappears, and now nothing gets built. That guy runs away with the money. Tarion doesn't have any money.
Turns out he doesn't even own the site. He just had an agreement to build with the owner.
Idea.
This is that's what's out there right now.
Bad idea.
It's the Wild West for the last few years for construction and for new home builders. The New Home Builders Association, like, really, and Build, like, all these guys, like, they got to level up. I know a guy from Build. I'm going to try to get him on the show. They got to level up. They got to tell us what they're doing in order to be able to bring consumer confidence.
Well, good luck to them. I mean, there's so many. Did you see recently? I don't know how recent this is. I think it's recent. Mike Holmes, like, he put his name on a company, like licenses his name to people to but they're abuse. Knocking down houses that were built like 2-3 years ago under his brand name, right? Like, and he builds stuff better and done right, Mike Holmes done right. And they're like already condemning like brand new houses built under his brand. This is the shit people got to deal with. You think you could trust Mike Holmes because he's on the television, TK, right?
Well, we used to be associated with Scott McGilvery, and Scott's a great guy, and there's nothing wrong with him or his organization or anything like that. But then next thing you know, we start seeing, we thought what it was he picked us because we were the best in Toronto and whatever. But next thing you know, he's got 10 other people around the GTA, and it's just like Darryl's the best guy at, in Thornhill, and Jim, he's the best guy in South Pickering. And Sarah, she's the best guy in Peterborough outskirts, so all of a sudden it became like washed down. So now I can guarantee you that same confidence you got in us because you heard him being a spokesperson for us, if that extended to all these other people now across the GTA, most likely most likely. I don't know for sure. But one of them wasn't providing the same level of standards that you'd expect to get from somebody promoted by your favorite celebrity you see on TV. So Mike Holmes is just victim to the same thing in literally the toughest industry. The construction industry is just it's not the contractors, it's not the people who are contractors that are the problem. It's
Yeah, it
just the
is.
it's not. It's the way that the industry is set up as a whole. It's
That
just
too.
impossible to regulate that industry. So therefore, you're always going to get people who are, late on when they start, late on when they finish, overcharge. Like there's so many things there that happen that it's just impossible to fix 100%. It'll never get fixed the way that the construction industry is. You just have to know going into it, there's a chance I could lose my deposit. There's a chance that the guy could be late. There's a chance that it may go over budget. There's a chance that he might not finish on time. There's a chance that he could roll over and die midway through and I got to find someone new. Like you just don't know. There's no guarantees. So I try not to talk bad about the construction industry as a whole. I don't think it's easy for a contractor to keep everybody happy.
I'll tell you, the sooner those sites are full of robots, the better off everybody is. Because not only will they be done quicker, they will be built better because you won't have Jose and Solomon, okay, busy fucking around all day.
Popping Percocets, after lunch, skipping out early every single day, telling you they can't make it today because it's raining.
No, or just like, listen, I worked in the lumberyard and there were guys, the new guys are sitting there carrying like 8 2x4s, right? Or, it happens on the site too. The new guy's carrying like 6 pieces of plywood from, the main floor to the roof. And then it's like you start to learn the ways, right? Next thing you know, it's like it's 1 2x4 at a time, right? Or maybe you got to pass it to the
lunch
other
break.
guy.
You're in the porta potty an extra 3 times a day.
Right. I got to finish the sports section before I leave the shitter. Like it's all these things, right? And then it's like, the super comes and he sees the guy doing it and he's finished and he's like, I'd like my money. I'm finished. And you go, let's get the square out or the level out and take a look at that thing. Cause maybe I'm not a trained, my eye isn't perfect.
All right. I vote for robots. I vote for robots.
We need the robots, TK. Good. The sooner the robots replace the two of us, the better too. Yeah. But anyways, TK.
Guys, if you're still listening,
why?
Remember, like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Buy the merch we want to see. I'd love to run into somebody. Darryl got to run into somebody wearing the merch. I want to run into somebody that I know wearing the merch. Link is in the description below.
Link is in the description below. TK, always a pleasure. You're the best on the best team ever. That's
what they say.